Attribute number 2, the food likeness of God, part 9. Meditation number 14, loving the world. 1 John 2:15. Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For everything in the world, the desire of the flesh, the desire of the eyes, and the boasting of this life, comes not from the Father, but from the world. The world and its desires pass away, but the man who does the will of God lives forever. What is wonderful about this attribute? John makes it very clear that desire is at the core of love. He forbids love for the world and then immediately goes on to speak of desires for this world. Desire for the world is the opposite of love for God, which means at the core of love is desire. We are forbidden to love anything in the world because everything in the world comes from the world rather than from God. The only desires we are permitted to have, then, are desires for God. The reason for this prohibition is that the world is passing away, but the one whose desire is the will of God lives forever. You share the fate of what you love. Desire in your heart attaches to the object of your desires, so you go where it goes. It is a gracious kindness, then, for the Lord to instruct us to desire Him alone. In doing so, we rescue ourselves from the disaster of sharing the world's fate, and we propel ourselves into eternal joy with God. Worldliness is not first a matter of actions or practices. Worldliness takes place in the heart. It is a matter of desire and love. A man who has never been drunk, never gambled, never engaged in any impure sexual behavior of any kind, or who has very little wealth, may still be quite worldly if in his heart he thinks of those things as being sources of joy. The pleasures of this world can be enjoyed by the Christian if they are enjoyed as an act of fellowship with God and received as gestures of God's love and admired as emblems of God's goodness. But if desire terminates on them, as though they themselves were the source of joy, that is unfaithfulness to God. God is the only worthy object of our desire. Nothing else should be desired because nothing else is inherently good. All the goodness, beauty, loveliness, sweetness, or excellence of anything in existence is good, beautiful, lovely, sweet, or excellent only inasmuch as it resembles God. And the feelings of happiness and enjoyment from those things come only when God grants an experience of His delightfulness through those things, which is why sometimes our favorite things do not bring happiness at all. Think of what a marvelous thing it is that God is worthy of desire. In order for an object or person to be worthy of desire, it or he must be capable of fulfilling that desire. God is worthy of all desire, and nothing else is worthy of any desire, because nothing else has the innate capability to satisfy the appetites of the soul. The presence of God always satisfies. No exceptions, ever. One of the most unpleasant experiences in life is disappointment. When you get your hopes up for something and it ends up being canceled or ruined somehow, it is more depressing than if the hope had never come up in the first place. The wonderful thing about God's worthiness to be desired is that He never disappoints. He always satisfies. We never have to worry that an experience of the presence of God will turn out to be unsatisfying. What effect would it have on your heart if you were to consciously experience God's worthiness to be desired today? Experiencing this attribute. The only way to experience this attribute is to eliminate love for the world from your heart. And desire for the world can only be eliminated by what Thomas Chalmers called the expulsive power of a new affection. It is impossible to stop loving something or to stop desiring something by a mere act of the will. Desire can only be removed by displacement. Removing desire is like digging a hole in a body of water. With each shovelful removed, the surrounding water rushes right back in. But if you put some other object in that space, it displaces the water. Only love for God can displace love for the world. Susanna Wesley understood this principle. She said, "Whatever weakens your reason, impairs the tenderness of your conscience, obscures your sense of God, or takes off your relish of spiritual things. In short, whatever increases the strength and authority of your body over your mind, that thing is sin to you, however innocent it may be in itself." What does it look like to desire God alone? When you go on vacation, before you leave, you remind yourself that this vacation could be delightful or it could turn out to be miserable. It could satisfy the cravings of your soul or leave you depressed and empty. And the only factor that will determine whether it is one or the other is whether or not God enables you to experience the grace of His presence through the vacation. Think about every enjoyable experience that way. The more you learn to attribute the pleasure to the presence of God, the more you'll realize what an incredibly delightful thing the presence of God is. Think, in what areas has love for the world crept into your heart? Promise to trust today. Psalm 1:1. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of mockers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever he does prospers.